everybody, I'm Jason, and this is the Wealth Advisory's Top 10 for November 2022. I know it's hard to believe that we're already almost all the way through the year. October is just about in the books. I mean, by the time you're watching this, October will be in the books. I'm filming it on Friday, the Friday before Halloween. Everybody here is getting ready to go out and do some monster parties over the weekend. But I am here to give you the top 10. And wow, let's talk about October a little bit first. What a month. I mean, it's usually a bad month for stocks. Like historically, October's a terrible month for stocks. You almost just don't want to be like buying stocks at the beginning of October. But this month, it was like the exact opposite. Markets were up a bunch. Well, I shouldn't say all of the markets were up a bunch. The NASDAQ barely broke even, and actually probably down a little bit by now after the big tech earnings have come through. They're calling it the big tech wreck. Meta dropped like 24% overnight. That used to be Facebook, for those of you who are wondering what the heck is Meta. Apple, Amazon, everybody just sort of got hurt. Google, the FANGs, just not doing well. And so the NASDAQ barely broke even for the month, but the Dow, the stodgy old Dow, was up almost 9%. I think it's going to end the month at about an 8.5% gain, depending on where the markets close today and what happens on Halloween. Or what happened on Halloween, since technically you're watching it after. I'm filming it before, though. But anyway, the S&P was up 3.5%. It was a pretty good month for the majority of stocks. The tech stocks really didn't take it well. They kind of got clobbered, but the rest of them did really well. Our top 10 did even better. We averaged about a 10% gain. I'm always really happy to beat the markets, and I'm especially to beat the markets, when they're performing so well. So we had a bunch of really, really good gains there, a bunch of really, really good stocks, great performers, and one that didn't do too well, Generac. That one kind of got creamed. It basically got a new downgrade every month. People are saying that, it doesn't have a lot of legs left to it, that basically it sold all of the generators that it's going to sell. I really don't believe that, because I think that only part of the country has experienced what rolling blackouts are like and what it's like to not have a Generac home generator. When more people feel that kind of pain, I think more people are going to buy the generators. So it's a loser. It's coming out for the month, but we still really like that one in the long term. We had a bunch of winners, though. I mean, literally every other stock in the portfolio was up. Generac was the only one that was down. Energy was definitely the trade of the month. Devon was up 30%. Viper was up almost 20%. Copper, after just getting clobbered because, people were scared that China's lockdowns are going to dent the demand for copper, which they will, but not really a long-term factor there. So copper came back, and Freeport gave us over 20% last month. So it was a really good month for our stocks. We had a bunch of double-digit gainers, and November, honestly, it's looking like a toss-up right now. The Fed is definitely set to hike interest rates one more time. It's almost certainly going to be another 75 basis points. That's 0.75% for those of us that don't speak in basis points. And honestly, everything's really going to depend on what Jerome Powell says. The markets have pretty much priced in the 75-point hike. It's sort of like, what are they going to do next? What is he going to say about future hikes? Are the future hikes going to be lower? Are they going to be smaller? Are they talking about maybe like it might be time to consider, thinking about slowing down on these rate hikes, or even turning around and dropping the rates. So that's what the markets are going to be listening for. And it really depends on what the markets hear him say, how November is going to turn out. Definitely expect a 75 basis point or 0.75% interest rate hike, though, when the Fed meets later on in the month. So that all being said, I've got what I think is a great top 10 list for you. I don't know if I can guarantee another 10% average gain like last month, but I think we can beat the market. I think it's a good looking list. So before we get started, I just want to remind everybody that, as usual, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through our first 5, numbers 10 through 6, and then I'm going to cut the video off for those of you watching on YouTube. I have a subscription-only investment advisory service, and people pay, for my advice. For my analysis on these stocks, and it wouldn't be fair to give it all away for free. So I'm giving you what I think is a really good head start with the first 5. If you want the top 5, though, you're going to have to become a paying member and join the rest of us. It's super affordable. Honestly, I mean, with the way last month's stocks performed, you could have paid for your membership, like for your entire year's membership, with just the gains that you took home last month. So it should be a no-brainer. I hope you'll join us. I've made it easy. There's a link in the description below the video. Just click it and you'll be taken to an order page with a few different options for membership tiers. All of them will get you access to the top 5. And that all being said, let's get into the top 10 for November 2022, since that's what you guys are all watching for. This month is pretty much all about either energy, like last month was, or momentum, because as I always say, we like to let our winners run. And this one is all about momentum. It's Leidos Holdings, and it's what I like to call the biggest contractor you've never heard of. It trades under the ticker symbol LDOS. Leidos. That's a D, not a P. Like I said, it's the biggest contractor you've never heard of. It's one of the top 10 defense companies by contract revenue. It's steadily inking more and more deals to support the U.S. government, but it's not one of those names like Boeing or Lockheed Martin or Raytheon, that you hear tossed around a lot. Leidos is actually where some of you guys might recognize the name is the scanning machines, where you have to stand there and get scanned in the airport. A lot of those are made by Leidos. Probably some of them are operated by Leidos employees too, since they are a government contractor. Anyway, last month it shot up the charts by 10%. It's in an industry that's basically recession-proof, and it's got the wind at its back. So we're going to give it a shot as our number 10 pick this month. So that's Leidos Holdings. Now let's clear this out and move on to our next stock, which is also about momentum. This is Telos Corporation, trades under the ticker TLS. And Telos is a smaller cybersecurity expert with growing contracts to support various branches of the U.S. government. It also works with corporations and individual consumers too. It even sells support to people like you and me. So it went on a tear last month also. It was up a good 11%. And I've said many times that cybersecurity just doesn't have the penetration that it needs to. There's a lot of people out there that are connected to the internet, but not a lot of people out there that are protecting themselves with cybersecurity. It's an industry I expect to continue to grow by leaps and bounds in the coming years. And we're going to see if Telos can deliver at least one of those leaps or perhaps a bound in November as our number 9 pick. Next up, that brings us to our number 8 stock for November. And like 9 and 10, this one's about momentum. As you can see, it's Innovative Industrial Properties. It's my favorite cannabis stock. It's the only one that I personally own. And it's the only cannabis stock that didn't get absolutely crushed when the bottom fell out of that market. It trades under the ticker IIPR. There we go, IIPR. Not the prettiest IIPR that I've ever drawn. That I've ever drawed, but it's IIPR is what it is. And like I said, it's the only cannabis stock I personally own. It's the only one that didn't just get absolutely clobbered when the bottom fell out of that market a few years ago. It is down a bunch from its peak in 2021. I think it topped out around like $250 a share. It's down under 100 now, or right around 100 now. But it still pays a very handy dividend. I think that payment is north of 7% these days. So that's not bad. You're looking at 7%. If it's trading at $100, then you're looking at about $7 a share per year in dividends. That's pretty great. That's almost enough to beat inflation just with the dividend by itself. And it had a really good run up the charts last month too. So since it's my favorite pot stock, it's got momentum behind it. Let's go ahead and give it a shot and see if we can get another 12% gain in November with it as our number 8 pick. All right, let's clear this out. We'll move on to our number 7 pick. We're getting close to the end of the first 5 here. And so I know I said these were all energy or momentum plays this month, and this sort of kind of sticks with that theme, but it's also a play on rising interest rates. Because rising rates are actually good for things like banks, and Bank of America should benefit from the coming rate hike that the Fed's gonna make. So Bank of America trades under the ticker symbol BAC, It's our favorite bank. It's got a rock solid balance sheet. You know, it came out of the financial crisis looking, honestly, it was looking really lean and looking really good. And that's probably why Warren Buffett came in and invested so much money in it. It's performed just incredibly well for us in the model portfolio. You know, like I said, interest rate hikes are good for banks. Other stocks, you know, they borrow money to grow. Banks lend money to grow. So, I mean, you know, the more they can charge us on the loans that they're giving us, the more money they're going to make, the wider their margins are going to get, because they're not going to boost the interest rates that they're paying us. That would be crazy. So anyway, you know, so that you can make a little money out of the bank while the bank's making a little bit of money out of you, we're going with Bank of America this month. You know, it should have better margins thanks to the higher rates. And it also had a stellar run up in October. It went up about 15%, I want to say. So, you know, we're going to let the winner keep running and, you know, give it the number 7 position in this month's top 10. And that brings us to the last pick in the top 5. I guess the first 5. I keep calling it the top 5. It's the start off 5. It's the secondary top 5. And then we'll get to the primary top 5 after that. But it also brings us into the energy stocks that I see doing well this month. And honestly, I see them doing well for a really long time. So let's not just say that they're going to do well this month. And it just so happens that these energy stocks, this one included, have some serious momentum behind them. You already know that, you know, we had stocks up 30%, 20%, and this one was up, I think it was about like 15% or so, 16% last month. As you can see, it's Centrus Energy. It trades under the ticker symbol LEU. That's a U, not a lowercase a. So I should really get better at my writing so I don't have to clarify what these letters are. But anyway, LEU, let me clear the canvas. I'm going to write that again because it's just really bad. LEU. There we go. Much better. I'm satisfied with that one. Anyway, it's a play on renewal of the nuclear renaissance that was like basically supposed to happen 50 years ago, but never did, or only sort of did. The world needs reliable energy. Like if the war in Ukraine and the energy crisis in Europe and like the rising energy costs here in the U.S. and you know all of the oil coming out of the SPR have shown us anything, it's that the world needs reliable energy. But it also needs sustainable fuel sources. And fossil fuels are not sustainable, and renewable energy sources aren't reliable. But nuclear is both reliable and it's sustainable, and it's even finally getting love from some of the greenest and crunchiest hippies out there as an alternative to dirtier sources. So, you know, there are a lot of companies also out there working on making smaller, safer, more efficient reactors. The Canadian government just announced plans that they're going to start building one of these smaller reactors. And those new reactors can only run on one kind of fuel. And Centrus, right here, has the only license granted by the United States government to produce that kind of fuel in the US. So that gives it a huge advantage, especially when pretty much all the other companies making that fuel are in Russia. And, you know, we've got sanctions on Russia in case you hadn't heard. So, you know, keeping with the whole momentum idea and keeping with the whole energy idea, shares rallied 16% last month. We need reliable energy, and Centrus can provide the fuel for it. So with the wind behind it, it's coming in as our number 6 pick for November 2022. So that brings us to the end of the first 5. And also, let me clear my, I always forget to clear the canvas on that one. So now that symbol's gone, let's do a little recap here for those of you on YouTube. First off, at number 10, we've got our favorite military contractor, Leidos Holdings, ticker symbol LDOS. Coming in at number 9, we've got our small but growing cybersecurity operation, Telos Corporation, ticker symbol TLS. At number 8, my favorite cannabis stock, your favorite cannabis stock, everybody's favorite cannabis stock, Innovative Industrial Properties, with IIPR being the ticker there. And then number 7, Bank of America. It may not be your favorite bank if you use it, but it's a really great bank if you're an investor. It trades under the ticker symbol BAC. And I say it may not be your favorite bank if you use it just because nobody seems to like their bank, you know, which I totally understand. As a former banker, I completely understand and I don't hold it against you. And anyway, coming in at number 6, the final in the first 5 is Centrus Energy, our nuclear fuel producer, ticker symbol LEU. And do you know what this means? That if you're watching on YouTube, this is where we have to leave you. You know, I've got to hold the top 5 for my paying members, but if you want to become one of those, I want you to become one of those. And I've made it really easy. There's a link in the description below that'll take you straight to an order page with a pretty spectacular deal, in my opinion. And if I'm as right this month as I was last month, even if I'm half as right this month as I was last month, then you could actually pay for your membership with the profits you make from this list, from just those 5 stocks that I gave you, plus the next 5 that I'm about to cover. You know what? It's a really great deal, you know, and I really hope you take advantage of it. But if you decide not to, I'll still be your friend, and I'll still keep posting these videos for as long as you want to watch them. I just ask that you give me a thumbs up and tell the algos that you like me so that they'll put my face in front of as many people as possible, so that I can help as many people as possible. So again, thanks for joining us for another month, and we'll see you in December.